Hi, I'm Dan Slaughter. I'm the president of the Mount Olympus Neighborhoods Association, which we call MONA. And I want to welcome you all to our very first District 8 Neighbors Mayoral Forum. So MONA is at the geographic center of our great city, and so is District 8, is sort of the center of the city. And we thought it would be important in this election year for our residents to hear directly from the people who want to be our mayor. So we put together a group of 11 neighborhood associations in District 8 to sponsor this forum. All of them are nonpartisan. None of them endorse candidates. So this is not like some of the other things where there's a vote at the end. Those neighborhood associations are Bernal Cut Neighborhood Association, Buena Vista Neighborhood Association, Cole Valley Improvement Association, Corbett Heights Neighbors, Dolores Heights Improvement Club, Dubose Triangle Neighborhood Association, Eureka Valley Neighborhood Association, Friends of Noe Valley, Glen Park Association, and Upper Noe Neighbors. So really a total cross-section of the area. So we want to thank all the people who helped, all the volunteers from all those neighborhood associations, and I'll turn it over to the chair of our steering committee.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, hi, my name is Matt Hicks. I'm a board member at MONA and a co-chair of this wonderful forum. I first just want to thank my amazing co-chair, Esther Marks, and also our volunteer lead, Paige Gray, for all their hard work on the steering committee. Our steering committee in May invited all the top 5 candidates based on polling to be part of this forum. The 4 challengers here have accepted our invitation. Mayor London Breed declined. I personally got involved in this forum because, like so many of you, I love San Francisco, and I really believe that the city is at a key crossroads right now. I've lived here half my life, and I don't remember a more consequential or competitive race for mayor. This race is likely to come down to multiple rounds in ranked choice voting, so please remember to be thinking not only of your top choice, but also how you would rank the candidates, and we hope today helps with that. Before I turn it over to our moderator, I wanted to give a shout out to the Randall Museum for this awesome space. Thanks to Marcus, Brom, and team for all your support. Now for our moderator, we're really, really honored to have Joe Fitzgerald Rodriguez. He's a San Francisco native, and he's covered local politics and government for more than a decade. He's currently politics reporter at the San Francisco Standard, and he's president of the Northern California chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for having me. I have a confession. I grew up in District 2. I know. In the Cow Hollow. But I have a lot of love for D8. I, in this very room, attended the art and film program. Anyone know it? Anyone a fan? Yeah, Ron Chase. Love Ron Chase. Where I first, as a San Franciscan, got exposed to German expressionism film and film noir. I have a lot of love for this space, for D8, and I think you do too, and for this city, or else you wouldn't be here. Every one of you having your civic duty and coming to see what these candidates have to say, I would love you to give yourselves a round of applause, please. Now for the less fun part. We have some rules. Before we start, I need to note that we would please no cheering, no jeering or disruptions during the forum. Save the applause until the end. You can use your spirit fingers. Spirit fingers are great. We want everyone on the stage to be able to be heard, and we will ask anyone being disruptive to leave. Same goes for you candidates. I'm gonna call you out. They will each start with a 2-minute opening statement, then take turns giving 1-minute answers during 6 rounds of questions. Now, I have the discretion to give any candidates called out by name or by inference the ability to give a 30-second rebuttal, and I will definitely use it. So we'll end then with 1-minute closing statements from each of these folks. The questions were solicited from the 11 sponsoring neighborhood associations in D8 and selected by the steering committee representing these organizations. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce each of these candidates by turn and allow them to give their opening statement, starting with you, Mark Farrell. Please.
Ready to go? Okay. All right, well, Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here in District 8. I'm running for mayor this year because I believe we need a change of leadership inside of City Hall. I am a proud, born and raised San Franciscan. Actually, being here in the Random Museum brings back great memories. I had my 8th grade science fair in this building itself. I'm a proud, lifelong Democrat. And I'm proud that my wife Liz and I are raising our 3 children here in the city of San Francisco. My wife was at our debate last night. She can't be here because she's back to school night this evening, where I'm going to join her after we're through today. And I'm running for mayor because I believe in the city of San Francisco. We have everything going for us as a city despite our problems today. We have our natural beauty, we have our weather, we have our parks, we have our universities. But more than anything, we have the people of San Francisco. San Franciscans have always had a spirit and an ethos about us that is unique and iconic around the world. And to me, it's worth fighting for. But the reality is, our city is suffering under the leadership of Mayor Breed. All of a sudden, public safety is the #1 issue in every single neighborhood. Every Walgreens and CVS stores are getting looted on a daily basis. The street conditions have never been worse. Homelessness is on the rise. The fentanyl crisis that is centered in the Tenderloin and South of Market is hitting every neighborhood. And our economy is completely stuck in the mud. I believe we need to change the direction in City Hall. I believe we need a new mayor to lead San Francisco forward, not backwards. To me, experience matters. I've been mayor before. Competence matters. I am proud of my track record and where I left San Francisco when I left the mayor's office, and a vision matters for San Francisco. And I look forward to sharing that vision with each one of you this evening. Thank you.
All right. Aaron Peskin.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to all of the neighborhood organizations that have put this evening's District 8 debate on. I actually got my start at a neighborhood organization in the northeast corner of San Francisco. I think you're going to hear some pretty stark differences amongst the candidates this evening. As many of you know, I have fought and will fight to protect and expand rent control. Most of my opponents will not. I have been a champion of affordable housing. Most of my opponents prefer to talk about luxury housing. I have a track record of sticking up for neighborhoods. Many of my opponents are pursuing policies that would be ruinous to them. And I have a real comprehensive homeless strategy with implementable solutions. My opponents mostly talk about sweeps, which are simply ineffective. I am a grassroots candidate with over 3,000 contributions from nurses, teachers, artists, working San Franciscans, and that is exactly who I will fight for. My opponents, most of them, are supported by billionaires, and that's exactly who I will fight for, or they will fight for, excuse me. But the biggest difference amongst us is our vision for the future of San Francisco. I will fight for a future that is affordable to all of us, and I really hope that you will join me in that. Thank you.
All right.
Supervisor Ahsha Safai.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ahsha Safai. I'm a proud immigrant that came to this country fleeing violence and upheaval when I was 6 years old. I was raised by a single mom, sitting in the front row there, and I'm a proud husband and father of 2. I want you to walk away from this evening and ask yourself one central question. Who has the vision, experience, and leadership skills to turn this city around and fight for all San Franciscans? Not just the rich, but working and middle-class families, those that are often forgotten. Those are the families that I have represented for the past 8 years as the supervisor from the Excelsior Outer Mission and my entire career. We can't be a tale of 2 cities in San Francisco. I put myself through college. I went to MIT for city planning, and that's where I met the love of my life. And we came back to her hometown, San Francisco. And I have dedicated the past 24 years to public service in this city. I worked for 2 mayors, Mayor Willie Brown and Gavin Newsom. I was a deputy department head. I run my own small business. And I've worked with organized labor every step of the way. Right now, we have billionaires that are trying to buy this election. And that is real. Started with Daniel Lurie's mother. She donated $1 million to his campaign. Secondly, and just yesterday, an out-of-town billionaire donated $1 million to London Breed's campaign. San Francisco is not for sale. And just for point of reference, my mother gave $150 to my campaign. And I'm proud of that. The fact is, economic inequality is crushing our city. Working and middle-class families are being pushed out every single day. I have the track record,
Ahsha.
the leadership, the management skills, and the accountability. I will fight for all San Franciscans. Thank you.
Ahsha, we got something in common. My mom is here too.
All right.
My mother-in-law. Daniel Lurie.
Thank you all. It's an honor to be here tonight. I was born and raised here in San Francisco. My wife, Becca, and I were raising 2 young kids here. They were born on the same floor at the same hospital that I was born on California Street. And I've always had this deep sense of pride in San Francisco. But I have to tell you, the elected leaders, the direction they're taking us in, has left me worried about the future of our city. And that's why I've jumped in. Much has been made about my background. People up on this stage love to talk about it. And so let me tell you about it. My mom and my dad were divorced when I was 2 years old. My mom remarried my stepfather, just a kind, decent man who helped run Levi's. People want to stick me with Levi's, I run towards it, and I'm proud of being affiliated and growing up in and around an iconic San Francisco company that always took care of its employees. What you won't hear much about is that my dad was a rabbi here in San Francisco at Temple Emmanuel on Arguello. Helped tens of thousands of Jews flee persecution in the 80s and 90s from places like Ethiopia and Russia. My mom was always focused on early childhood education. Led me to start Tipping Point Community, a poverty-fighting organization that I ran for over 15 years. We raised over $500 million to tackle issues of poverty throughout this region. And I want to leave you with this. The values that my wife Becca and I are trying to instill in our kids is kindness and empathy and the quality to listen. Something that we do not get from our elected leaders, listening. I'm going to listen to community, and then I'm going to serve as your mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Now, I'm so sorry, please. I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you please? All right. Pardon us, everyone. We're just going to wait until we deal with this, and then we're going to start our questions. Great. Look at that. Smooth as butter. All right. Thank you all. Gentlemen, our first question, again, you have 1 minute each to answer, and our timekeeper, Susan, is right here with her son, Ryan, trying to keep you on time, so please keep an eye on them. So our downtown financial district has experienced significant business deterioration, most noticeably with shuttered office spaces and storefronts. In our neighborhood retail corridors from Castro to 24th Street, businesses need support against retail theft, navigating labyrinthine permitting, and surviving rising costs. These challenges affect the vibrancy of our neighborhoods. How do you propose to revitalize the economic health of the city? How specifically will you support existing businesses and attract new ones in neighborhood corridors in District 8? And we're going to start again with Mark, and then we're going to shift it in subsequent questions. Mark, please.
So the reality is, sorry, I'll get used to that. The reality is San Francisco's economy ranks dead last post-COVID in the entire United States. We have a mayor who has not led on this issue. I'm the only candidate running for mayor that has ever held a single job in the private sector, except for Supervisor Safai. He mentioned that last night.
This one too.
To me, experience matters. As mayor, when I left office, our economy was humming. As a supervisor, I co-authored legislation to get our economy back on track, to incentivize jobs in the mid-market area. What we need to do in San Francisco first is prioritize public safety. We need to clean our streets and set the conditions so businesses can thrive. We have to get aggressive with tax incentives out of City Hall, both in our downtown, South of Market cores and our commercial corridors as well in our neighborhoods, including District 8. And we have to focus on the conversion of commercial to residential downtown. We have to think outside the box, San Francisco, do it in ways that are not being proposed today in City Hall, and start building for our future.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Aaron?
With all due respect to Mr. Farrell, I was working in downtown San Francisco starting in 1985 and worked down there for a long time. And I know that downtown is critical to San Francisco's economy because I worked there and I've represented downtown for most of the last quarter of a century. I was actually the person to pass the legislation that Mr. Farrell was referring to ease the conversion of vacant office buildings to housing, and then I passed subsequent legislation to finance those conversions. But I'm also gravely concerned about the mayor's policy, supported by some of the individuals on this stage, to massively redevelop some of our neighborhood commercial corridors all over this city, on 24th Street in Noe Valley, on Chestnut, Irving, Clement, and that is going to lead to the displacement of small businesses and residents. We're already seeing it on Upper Fillmore. So yes, I will work to revitalize downtown, but I will not allow our neighborhoods to be destroyed.
Your name was invoked, if you wanted to respond at all.
You could go on that one.
All right. Ahsha, please.
Thank you. So I understand the question to be about how do we balance downtown's revitalization, but also think about how we're going to revitalize our commercial corridors. So I put forward legislation recently that will create downtown public universities. We have 40 million square feet of empty office space. We have a historic opportunity to purchase those buildings that are a historic low and do what other cities like New York City did after 9/11 or Phoenix, Arizona did 18 years ago, where they brought universities into the downtown. Make it more of a 24-hour environment. But we have to start with public safety. We have to start with cleaning our streets. So I would make our Public Works Department a true 24-hour department. Not one that ends at 8 o'clock, but like in many world-class cities, 24 hours. And then lastly, I authored legislation that would create community policing, mandatory foot patrols, get officers out of their cars, walking the beat, and proactively community policing, making our neighborhoods safe. Thank you.
And Ahsha, there was a question specifically about D8. Do you want to address D8 specifically, please?
Yeah, I mean, so that's, at the end of the day, for D8, you have to have it clean, you have to have it safe, you have to make people want to come back into the storefronts, and that's what I would start with.
All right, thank you. Daniel.
Public safety is my #1 priority. Has been from the time I launched this campaign. As far as downtown goes, I've called for a new police station downtown, covering our hospitality zone from Yerba Buena to Moscone to Union Square. We need to make sure that tourists and conventioneers and shoppers feel safe coming downtown. Right now, we have 3 police stations covering that area. We all saw what unfortunately happened on Saturday. I was proud of our SFPD for responding very quickly. But it's not only having a fully staffed police department, which we need. We're down 500 officers, and that is simply not okay. The mental health and drug crisis that we're all seeing in all of our commercial corridors, we have to get those people off the streets and into mental health and drug treatment beds. I know we'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
I'm going to ask you to hold to the same question. Do you have any specific recommendations, specific things to D8?
Yes, we're going to fully staff our police department so that we have officers walking the beat again, that we have a fully staffed sheriff's department and 911 dispatch office. And I'm going to make sure that our police officers and our firefighters are no longer our homeless outreach workers and our mental health counselors. We're going to get trained clinicians out there being the first point of contact so that we can have police officers take a step back, and then they can be out on foot patrols, out on patrol, making sure they can respond quickly and effectively and deter crime here in D8.
Thank you. All right. Our next one is on housing. So San Francisco, as you know, is on the hook to build 82,000 new housing units by 2031 under the state mandated housing element. So far, it's fallen woefully behind. Meanwhile, initiatives to address this, like the Planning Commission seeking to upzone neighborhood corridors for higher density housing, often face criticism from residents living in those neighborhoods. Will you upzone neighborhoods in District 8 specifically? Which ones? More broadly, when neighbors say they don't want taller buildings in their neighborhoods, but others say it's necessary to meet our housing goals, how will you balance those concerns? Supervisor Peskin, we'll start with you.
Folks, I think we need to reject the narrative of the developers and real estate speculators. They'll tell you I'm the worst, but I am actually the best candidate to build the affordable housing that San Francisco needs. I have voted over my time in office to approve over 100,000 new units all over this city, and insisted on levels of affordability. I am the only candidate in this race that supports expanding rent control. In my own district, I've built every kind of housing: homeless shelters, permanent supportive housing, market rate housing. And unlike some of my opponents, I have never, not once, voted against any affordable housing. But as I said earlier, I am deeply concerned about the one-size-fits-all solution, and I know that we can build the affordable housing that San Francisco needs without turning Ocean Beach into Miami Beach.
Thank you. All right. Someone who was invoked. Was there someone invoked? You're good? All right, good. No, by inference. It's one of the things. Some of them have voted. You heard that. Ahsha.
We'll let the guilty party stand.
Ahsha, please.
That's a heckler. Please remove it. Aaron Peskin's campaign manager, everyone. Thank you. Don't start my time. So I agree 100% that it does not make sense to have a one-size-fits-all. I do believe in density. I do believe in creating density. Listen, folks, we have a housing crisis in our city. We have to build more housing, but who are we going to build housing for? We need to build housing for working and middle-income families. Because the homes in my district, janitors used to be able to buy those homes. I proudly worked with them for over a decade. But today, those same homes go for almost $2 million. So we've built housing in my district for the first time in almost 75 years. I went to a ribbon cutting today where we built 130 units on an empty parking lot. We have a lot of opportunities for infill housing. We can increase density in a respectful way, but it's not one size fits all. But we have to think about who we're building housing for and respect neighborhoods as we go. Thank you.
And Ahsha, do you support higher density upzoning in D8?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, I think that, again, you have to look at it. No tenants will be displaced. I don't believe in displacing any tenants. Those are the rules on the books. I believe in preserving historic architecture. Those are the rules that are on the books. Mm-hmm. But when we have an empty lot on Market Street, or we have an empty lot on 18th, if we have an empty lot on 24th, we have to look to create housing in those opportunities because all parts of San Francisco have done that.
All right. Thank you, Ahsha. All right, Daniel, again, do you support upzoning in neighborhoods in D8, and how do you balance the concerns of neighbors around character versus taller buildings?
Listen, we all know we have a crisis of affordability. We all know the problem here. The White House just smacked our city down last week, saying it takes longer to get through permitting here in San Francisco than any other city in the country. 33 months. No wonder it costs so much. The City Hall insiders that I'm running against have created this broken, ineffective, and corrupt City Hall system where you have to pay a permit expediter to get housing built. But here's the good news. We all agree we need more housing for our teachers, our nurses, our firefighters. We also can all agree that we need to build affordable housing all over this city. I'm proud to tell you that I've done that. I got a building built on Bryant Street, 145 units. I got it done in 3 years and for $377,000 a unit. It was on time and it was under budget. We need to do that, as Ahsha just said.
Daniel,
we need to do it
we're
on
at time.
corner lots. We need to do it along commercial corridors.
Thank you. Mark?
Thanks. I will say we need to build a lot more housing in our city. And my tracker will show that I've been incredibly pro-housing my entire career when I was in City Hall. We kickstarted in District 2, the district that I represented before I became mayor, 3 of the largest housing projects that the north side of San Francisco will ever see. CPMC site on California, UCSF's Laurel Heights site, and then the Lucky Penny site on Masonic and Geary. We have to do better. Last year, the city of San Francisco, despite the fact that we're supposed to be building 10,000 units a year, built 2,000 units. And this year, we're on slate to build 400 units. I believe we need to build more housing in every single neighborhood. I believe the greatest opportunity for density exists in the downtown, south of Market, and Mission Bay corridors. I don't believe every neighborhood should look the same. The massive upzoning and equal upzoning that this current mayor has proposed would crush the city of San Francisco, and that's wrong. We build smart, we build along transit corridors, we do form-based density. We can do it in every neighborhood, and we can preserve what San Francisco is.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Our next question is on public safety. So, as you all are aware, San Francisco has roughly 400 fewer sworn officers today than it did in 2020 and has struggled to attract new recruits. Meanwhile, there is a persistent concern about public safety and quality of life crimes, including brazen car break-ins, retail theft, home burglaries, and vandalism, even though violent crime has broadly fallen. Residents often feel it's futile to even call the police. How will you address public safety in the short term after you're elected? Now, please pay attention to that, short term after you're elected. In the long term, what concrete steps will you take to fill the police hiring gap, which will obviously not be instant? And are police the only solution? Ahsha, we're starting with you.
Thank you. I'm just going to add on to some of the things I said previously. We worked hard. I worked hard at the Board of Supervisors with my colleagues to pass a piece of legislation that would mandate every single police district in the city come up with a foot and bike patrol plan, a community policing plan, proactively. Just last night, there were members of the Tenderloin crying out because if you go to 7th and Market at 10 o'clock at night, it's full with drug dealers, people overdosing, using drugs consistently. That neighborhood's been treated as a containment zone. I would stop that on day one. I would have the officers on the ground where the crimes are being committed all over San Francisco. Secondly, on the November ballot, you're going to have an opportunity to vote on Proposition N, as in nurses. That's going to attract new police, fire, deputy sheriffs, 911 call operators, nurses, all the gamut of public safety with a student loan forgiveness program.
Ahsha, we're at time.
You come work for San Francisco, we'll give you $25,000 in loan forgiveness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Daniel?
I said it already, but I'm going to say it one more time. Public safety is going to be my #1 priority on day one. What we've seen from this mayor is that she puts her finger in the air and says, should I support the police today or should I not? You can't just be for public safety during an election year. You can't just clean up the streets downtown for APEC or for the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. You have to be for public safety every single day of the year, and you have my commitment that I will do that for all 8 years of my 2 terms. We need a fully short-term and long-term. We need a fully staffed police department. We need a fully staffed sheriff's department and 911 dispatch. I have 3 friends that have called 911 over the past 2 weeks. Twice couldn't get through, and once was put on hold. That is unacceptable in a city with a $16 billion budget.
Daniel, I'm going to push you to answer that last question. Are police the only solution?
Listen, We are down over 500 officers. Police are definitely not the only solution. That's why I'm looking forward to talking about mental health, because we need more trained clinicians out there. We need to get people off the street. We need a fully staffed police department. We need to use technology to help us on red light cameras, on safety cameras. We should definitely use technology. Police will not solve all of our problems, but when you're down 500, it's a crisis.
Thank you. Mark?
So Mayor Breed has completely failed the city of San Francisco in terms of public safety. 3 years ago, she defunded the police department, stripped $120 million out of the police department's budget. We are down between 500 to 600 police officers in our police department today. And why it's so personal to me is because I have a track record. When I was in City Hall, I grew our police department as budget chair for 4 years. I partnered with Mayor Lee. And then I became mayor and I continued that policy. We had 5 police academy classes a year with over 50 recruits. Grew our police department to over 2,300 police officers. Public safety was not the issue remotely like it is today in San Francisco. We need a change of leadership in the mayor's office and someone who's been there, someone who's done that. Immediately, I believe we need a new police chief. We need to fully fund our police department, and we need to focus on rehiring our police department as well. Let's get our police academy cranking 52 weeks out of the year once again, so we can train born and raised San Francisco officers and protect every single resident in every single neighborhood.
All right, Mark, we are at time, but I'm going to similarly prod you on that last question. Are police the only solution?
Of course, they're not the only solution. But again, they are the #1 issue in our city right now and the #1 thing that this mayor has failed us on. It is not complicated when I was budget chair and mayor to say this is the starting number of police officers, these are the planned retirements, who gets hurt, who leaves and quits the job, and this is the ending number of officers. This is who we have to replace this year. We have failed over the last 6 years. Just because it's an election year and you start to talk tough on public safety doesn't mean you're going to do it going forward. You have to look to a track record. After 6 years, you don't get to have a plan. You have a track record.
We're at time.
And my track record is a track record of success.
We're at time, Mark. Thank you. Aaron?
So, Mark, not to rain on your parade, but actually for the brief period that you were mayor, crime was actually 30% higher than the same period this year. Fact. But let's talk about a number of things. Number one, public safety is remarkably important and law enforcement is remarkably important. And that is why I co-authored Proposition F on this November's ballot to retain 50 cops to prevent them from retiring, and why, together with Supervisor Safai, I support recruiting people from our schools through colleges with forgivable college loans. And yes, Joe, that is a midterm solution. But I can tell you, as somebody who was on the board in 2004, when our homicide rate hit 100, we invested in children who were at risk. We invested in gun buyback programs. We invested in anti-violence prevention programs, and it worked, and the numbers went down the next year. So yes, it's not either or, it is an and we have done it before, and we can do it again.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Yes, you are entitled to a rebuttal.
All right,
30
thank
seconds.
So if you believe Supervisor Peskin's stats, you probably believe Mayor Breed's stats, the crime is down and we should all be feeling safe in our neighborhoods right now. I don't believe that's the case here in San Francisco. And the reality is Supervisor Peskin was the president of the Board of Supervisors when we defunded the police department 3 years ago.
That's just not true, Mark. I was
sorry,
became president
not
of the
president.
Aaron,
You're
please,
on the
not
Board
a
of Super-
not
you're on the Board of
not a
Supervisors.
back and forth,
Fair
please.
enough,
No
fair
back
enough.
and forth.
So you're on the Board of Supervisors. You approved that budget. Over the last 6 years, our police department has declined by close to 600 officers when you were in office.
That's
You
also-
did nothing
that's
about that.
also not true.
What we need is a mayor who's been there and has a
Mark,
track
we're
record
down
of growing our
300
police department
officers.
once
Aaron,
again.
It's
Aaron,
not
please.
600, it's 300.
Aaron.
You've magnified it by a factor of 2.
Aaron, you can rebut him in your next answer if you'd
It's
like.
just a fact.
I understand. I understand. All right, our next question is on homelessness and mental health. And Daniel, we're going to start with you with this. San Francisco spends an enormous amount of money on services for the unhoused, yet the plight of those living on the streets and the impact of our neighborhoods has only gotten worse. Most alarming in our neighborhoods is the growth and persistence of tent encampments and open-air drug use, especially fentanyl, in many of our business districts and even residential areas, as well as general sense that residents don't know where to turn for help or how to help the mentally unstable people they encounter. How will you immediately address tent encampments and related illegal activity on the streets? Will you continue the city's current sweeps?
Thank you for the question. Day one, I'm calling for a fentanyl state of emergency. We're going to surge resources. We're going to get tough on those drug dealers that are preying on our most vulnerable. Law enforcement says my plan puts drug dealers out of business here in San Francisco. On the demand side, I said this before, we're going to have a 6-point plan, but the first plan is, part of it is to have a co-responder model where you have trained clinicians go out instead of police officers. We're going to have people taken from the streets into a 24/7 crisis center where they can get the care that they need and then deployed to mental health and drug treatment beds. In the first 6 months of my administration, we're going to stand up 1,500 emergency shelter beds. They're going to be safe, they're going to be dignified. We're going to double down on bus tickets home, homeward bound. The mayor failed to restart that in a significant way. And then the third and fourth options for people on the street are going to be mental health and drug treatment beds, whether they be voluntary or mandated. But I can tell you this, there will be no option to stay on our streets any longer.
Daniel,
there's going to be a message that you do not come here to deal drugs, to do drugs, or to sleep on our streets.
And I'm just going to push you on that last question. Will the sweeps continue under your mayorship?
No, this is the thing, Joe. We've been doing sweeps for years with these City Hall insiders, and it hasn't worked. It didn't work 6 years ago. It doesn't work today. You have to have safe and dignified shelter to move people into. Bus tickets home, there needs to be options. But now, we've seen our neighborhoods are being a rise in homelessness. People are going from the Tenderloin and Soma out into the avenues now.
Thank you. All right, Mark, again, what will you do to address the encampments and illegal activity, and will you continue the sweeps?
So I'm the only person on this stage that has, again, a track record of successfully dealing with the tent encampments on the streets of San Francisco. When I was mayor in 2018, we changed our policy. We had these growing tent encampment cities in every neighborhood of San Francisco. And I changed our policy. I said, we're going to treat people with compassion and respect. But if they say no to our offer of shelter or housing, we're going to take their tents away. Because I believe the sidewalks of our city belong to everybody. They belong to young families. They belong to the elderly. They belong to small business owners. When we did that, in 6 months, these large tent encampments were gone. I have a track record of success, and I will do it again. But when you hear somebody else criticize us and no track record of success, what Mr. Lurie did at Tipping Point was raise $100 million to cut chronic homelessness, and it rose. He single-handedly funded the Coalition on Homelessness, the one organization that's promoting homelessness inside of City Hall right now. That's not success. We need someone who's going to come in and be effective on
We're
the
at time,
streets
Mark.
of our city.
Thank you so much. Daniel, you get a rebuttal.
Mark's missed 2 facts tonight. We had a goal to cut chronic homelessness by 50%. We cut it by 13%. We didn't hit our mark. That was not meant to hit him. We didn't hit our mark, but we had successes. We got housing built on time and under budget. We got shelter built. And I don't think we should listen to any of these City Hall insiders who have been in office for nearly a decade or more tell you that they solved our homelessness crisis. I don't think any of them have done that.
All right. Aaron?
Mayor Breed and Mr. Farrell are big advocates of sweeps. Listen, I can tell you that since the mayor started these sweeps a month ago, I have never, as a supervisor, gotten as many complaints because sweeps don't solve the problem. They just move homeless from one neighborhood to another. And I agree with the statements that Mayor Breed has failed around the issue of homelessness. We have more homeless today than when she started. But frankly, Mr. Farrell, you're just doubling down on her failed strategies. And Mr. Lurie, I candidly respect your philanthropic efforts and salute them, but you frankly don't have the experience to wrangle 9 city departments and 248 nonprofit providers. I have a comprehensive plan on homelessness. It's called Crisis to Care. It's on my website. I encourage you to read it. I developed it with experts in the field, and it outlines the major things that need to be done. Systemic management
Aaron, we're out of time.
reform, a regional approach to treatment, stopping
Aaron, we're out of time.
evictions, and, but read it. It's on my website.
Thank you. So he invoked both of you. We're doing okay on time, but please keep it brief if you can for your rebuttals. Mark, you're first.
Thanks. So I will not continue Mayor Breed's one-off policy around tenant encampments. I will do what I did before and be consistent about it. Because it's one time someone moves around the corner, but after 3 or 4 times, most people start coming into shelter, or they decide it's inconvenient to stay in San Francisco and they leave the city of San Francisco. We need to have that consistent policy out of City Hall. And our current mayor, who's now busing people out of San Francisco without any acknowledgement of where they're going, that's a mistake, because we're getting into busing wars with the Republican governors of the border
All right,
states,
that's
and
time.
we're going to lose that battle. We need to do it smarter,
Mark.
more efficiently, and humanely as well.
Thank you. Daniel.
At Tipping Point, we've housed over 40,000 people since 2015 at a fraction of the cost that it takes the city. We have a track record of getting big things done. I have a track record. I've worked with every mayor since Gavin Newsom through to this one. I've worked with mayors around the city to bring Super Bowl 50 here. I have accountable leadership. I have the experience. They have a track record of failure on all of these issues. That's why we're up here talking about
Daniel,
a new mayor.
That's time. Thank you so much. All right. Our next question. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we're sorry. We had so many rebuttals, I lost track of myself. Asha, please.
I probably have 3 rebuttals in there, since the City Hall insider's been invoked 1,000,000 times. Sorry, not as much as Aaron, though, I'm sorry. But anyway, let's take a step back for a second, folks. 60 seconds is not enough to answer this question, but let's be real. Throwing money at the problem, Daniel, is not the answer. We literally have never, until just this last year, begun to audit the money that's been thrown at homeless crisis in this city. And I authored that legislation 2 years ago. The first audit that was done this past spring, a year ago, they had to call in the FBI because the group was selling vouchers to friends and family. The next audit, they were submitting false invoices. So first, we're going to audit the services that are being out there. Second, we're going to treat this like the crisis that it is. It is a mental health and drug addiction crisis. Proposition 1 was passed. We have millions of dollars to stand up more mental health and recovery beds. And yes, we are going to use Homeward Bound. Gavin Newsom started that in 2004, but when it was successful, they were sending people home to loved ones and checking on them day 30, day 60, day 90. We're going to stand up shelter.
Asha, we're
we're
at
going
time.
to use Homeward Bound. We're going to get more recovery
Asha.
and mental health bed. I mean, everyone had like 2 minutes. Sorry, there was rebuttal, right? And all
10 seconds to wrap.
Let me just wrap it up. And at the end of the day, folks, we're going to get out there on the streets, and we're not going to wait every 2 years to count. That's not the right way to do it. Ask anyone on this stage right now. They can't tell you how many homeless people there are on the streets of San Francisco because it's a false narrative. We're going to get out there consistently, we're going to engage, and we're going to measure our success.
All right. Thank you, Asha. Fair critique. Okay. Our next question is on schools.
Joe,
I'm so sorry. We had several rebuttals. We've got to keep
all
it
right.
moving. Daniel, I heard
I
it.
like being under fire.
Our next question is on schools. Mark, we're going to start with you again. So San Francisco's public school system has been in crisis for years. Now is in the middle of the tough process of closing schools. God, I hope it's not one I went to. This comes as enrollment has fallen by 4,000 students in a decade and is expected to fall further. Some families turn to private schools that may be burdensome on their budget or leave the city altogether, and either way, it's a Band-Aid to a wider problem. While the mayor and board of supervisors do not have direct authority, you all should know, over SFUSD, they do have a role to play. So what immediate steps would you take as mayor to address the current school crisis and keep families in the city? Should SFUSD not close any schools? And would you publicly advocate your position? And I know we are limited with time, but if you could briefly touch on this, what experience have you and your family had with the public school system that shapes your answer to this question? So, immediate steps to address the crisis. Should SFUSD not close any schools? And would you publicly advocate it? Go.
Okay, 1 minute here. So first of all, we better? No.
All right. Try
Better?
going closer.
Closer? Do we gotta? Is that better? Actually, you know what? We're good now? Okay, good. All right. Let me first off say we're a Catholic family. Both my wife and I went to Catholic schools growing up, and we're raising our children going to Catholic schools as well. But I will tell you, if you want San Francisco to be the most iconic city in the world that we believe it is, and I want San Francisco to be the best city in the world to raise a family, this is personal to me. We need to have a great public education system. But we have a separately elected school board. So City Hall's been traditionally very divorced. But I will do 3 things immediately as mayor, because I want to be the most proactive mayor for our public school families. Number 1, 3rd grade reading proficiency. It's one of the 3 pillars of our public school system. I will make that the number 1 funding priority out of our Department of Early Childhood in City Hall. Second, I will mandate that our MTA work with our school district on bus routes, but most important, bus frequency in the mornings. So kids, if they get to the bus stop in the morning on time, the social compact is we're going to get them to school on time. And lastly, around public safety. Now, our school district cut ties with our police department, but we still have tenant encampments, we still have street behavior on the way into school. What I've committed to is a priority 311 code to make sure any street
we're at
issue
time.
within a 1 block radius of public schools gets knocked out in 24 hours.
Although, let me get you on that last question. Public schools closing, your position, and will you publicly advocate for it?
Look, again, this is a school board thing. We have no control over it. I unfortunately think I've done the studies, I've gone through the financials with a number of school board members, gone through the financials with a number of parents. It's going to happen. We have to, literally, just like housing, the state's coming and taking control over our public school system right now. So our leaders have failed, unfortunately, and it's going to be tough. These conversations are going to be awful, and we don't want to have them. But if we're going to build for the future, we have to have them. And as part of leadership inside of City Hall, to start making tough decisions to move our city forward.
All right, thank you, Mark. Aaron, school crisis, keep families in the city, and do you support the closure of public schools?
So, as some of you may know, I'm not from here. I'm from the East Bay. But the reason I say that is because it's been revealed lately that I went to kindergarten through 12th grade in the first fully integrated Berkeley public school class, and lately I've been getting reporters calling, not because I'm running for mayor, but because they want to see my kindergarten, first, second, and third grade pictures with Kamala Harris. But I know, true story. As Mayor Joe, I would exert leadership. I think we have to understand we have a crisis in our schools that actually is part of the city's responsibility, and that is the crisis of student homelessness. There are 1,800 students in the San Francisco Unified School District that are homeless. That is the city's responsibility, and we need to take that burden off of the district so that they can teach and do their pedagogy. And the other thing that the city has to do, as I did, actually legislation that I passed, is provide teachers, paraprofessionals, and SFUSD employees affordable housing so that they can live in this city. As it relates
Aaron,
to
we're at
your
time.
question, I, as a leader,
Aaron.
would help them balance their budget. I would help them pay their teachers on time, and I would help them figure out if they needed to close any schools, Joe.
Thank you. Ahsha?
I demand an extra 30 seconds.
I'm trying to answer his question.
If I don't do
I should have a
anything,
cane.
if I don't do anything else as an elected official in my time, the thing that I am most proud about is the Student Success Fund. And that's where I worked with my skills, working with organized labor, bringing my colleagues to the table, and getting the deal done. You will get to vote on the final version of that this fall, and what that proposition does, and what that fund does, is allocate up to $60 million a year of your taxpayer money to public schools in San Francisco. So those schools that can't raise the PTA dollars, like Guadalupe Elementary around the corner from my house, that couldn't even finish the mural on the outside of their building, they will now have access to up to $1 million grants. Every single school in our city. I'm proud of that. And that almost didn't make it to the ballot. My kids went to Daniel Webster Elementary School, but they were also victims of COVID and extreme mismanagement of our public schools. And at the end of the day, the reason we're dealing with closures is because 10,000 students left with all
Ahsha.
the disarray and crisis in our city.
We're at
So
time.
I don't want the
We're
schools
at
to
time,
close,
Ahsha.
because I know you're gonna ask me,
Yeah.
do I want the schools to close? I don't want them to close. I want them to do everything they can to reorganize and keep as many of them open. But unfortunately, as Mark said, the state is coming in and having very difficult conversations about receivership and controlling the finances of our schools.
I was going to ask you, so I'll allow it. Thank you. Daniel, please, if you can, in this minute answer, address what you'll do for families in the crisis in schools, and yes, no, school closures, do you support them?
First, for us to be a world-class city that we know we all can get back to, we need a world-class public school system. And you are going to see me out on the city hall steps every single day advocating for paying our teachers well, paying them on time, making sure that we focus on student achievement again. We're going to use the power of the purse in the sense that we do send $200 million a year from the general fund to the SFUSD's $1.3 billion budget. So you have control over that, and there will be strings attached to that. What we also need to do, Mark said it, we need to use Muni. We need to also use Department of Children, Youth, and Families and surge resources to our schools so that it's not just about the teachers and the students, but also about the parents. So parents can go there and get mental health counseling, get CalFresh, get Medi-Cal, make the school holistic again in so many of our communities. School closures are just going to be a reality. We have lost close to 10,000 public school students. It's unfortunate.
Daniel,
Those families that school is closed, they should have first option of a neighborhood school.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys, next question, last question, is on city governance and bureaucracy, and Aaron, we're going to start with you. San Francisco, it's a rich city with an enviable tax base and a $15 billion budget that has nearly doubled in a decade. Yet the perception is that city services mostly fall short of expectations with inefficient practices, rampant corruption, and bureaucratic bloat. How will you make city government more efficient? Do you have any specific promises voters can hold you to? Do you support either of the two, Aaron, no, you do, city charter initiatives on the November ballot that reduces the number of commissions? Supervisor Peskin, you may answer, maybe a bit obvious, but you could talk about why.
That's about an hour's worth. Let me start with the measures around commission reform. Proposition D, supported by Mr. Farrell and some billionaires, will not only take San Francisco backwards, it will actually produce more corruption because it concentrates so much power in the office of the mayor. It was developed in secret, paid for by billionaires, and it is taking a meat axe to our democracy, eliminating the Arts Commission, the Library Commission, the Public Health Commission. There is a way to reform our commission system, and reforms are needed in the light of day. And I say vote against Proposition D. Let's reform our commissions the right way, which is Proposition E. And then finally, let's combat corruption, which is why I put a charter amendment on the ballot to have an office with the power of search warrant and the power of subpoena, an office of the Inspector General,
Aaron,
like so many cities around
we're out of
America have, and I encourage you to vote for it.
Thank you so much. Mark, you were invoked.
All right. So the reality is right now we have over 130 commissions inside of City Hall. Supervisor Peskin's initiative would create another commission to study the commissions, to think about which ones to eliminate or not. Proposition D actually takes action. We don't need over 130 commissions to run San Francisco city government. It caps them at 65 maximum, so cuts them in half. But most importantly, it makes all these commissions advisory in nature only, not setting policy for the underlying departments. So all of the power vests in the department head and allows the mayor to hire and fire department heads. If you want a truly accountable city government, not allowing a mayor to hide behind a commission or a board of supervisors or blame anybody else, You want to accept and vote for Proposition D. That is real reform in our city.
All right, Mark, that's rebuttal time. Ahsha.
Folks, contrary to popular belief and misinformation, we have the strongest mayor system in the United States. We have the highest paid mayor in the United States. Let that sink in. This mayor can hire and fire department heads, appoint the majority on every single major commission, and importantly, has the final say on how money is spent. So when we pass laws, and we allocate resources, the mayor can say no. And she did that. We allocated $25 million to build affordable housing for working people, literally for working people. She said, I'm not gonna spend a dime. And that money has sat there. She literally, and this gets to the corruption issue, $10 million to upgrade elevators where senior and disabled live in the Tenderloin, and she said, I'm not gonna spend that money because it wasn't my idea. And seniors and disabled are suffering. So yes,
All right,
I
Ahsha.
support the corruption measure, the Inspector General.
You're at
But
time.
at the end of the day, this
Ahsha.
mayor has power. Maybe she needs a little more. Maybe we need a little more. Maybe
Ahsha,
the position needs
please.
a little more. But at the end of the day, we definitely have
I mean, I could
the
beg.
ability. Sorry.
Daniel?
Joe, can you
30
repeat,
seconds.
was this a commission?
Yeah, so how will you
Corruption?
make the city government, how will you make city government more efficient? And do you have any specific promises voters can hold you to for that? And additionally, stance on the charter amendments.
Yeah, we need to streamline our bureaucracy, cut the red tape, and stomp out the corruption that has grown under the watch of the people on this stage and our mayor. I mean, there's a reason we need commission reform. It's because every single person on this stage has voted for a new commission almost every year they've been in office. And I do support commission reform. I do support Prop D. Whenever you have a commission that currently exists that is overseeing a department that no longer exists, you have a real problem. One concrete example is we have 248 nonprofits getting funding from 8 or 9 different departments right now. They don't all know that they're contracting with the same nonprofit. I'm taking power out of all of those departments. We're gonna centralize it with contract experts. There's going to be key performance indicators and metrics built into every contract, just like we did at Tipping Point. We held groups accountable. If they met goals, we kept funding them. If they didn't, we cut
Daniel?
funding and redirected resources. I can't believe it's taken this long for City
We're
Hall
at
to
time,
figure
Daniel.
this out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Mark.
Look, the biggest job of the mayor, what doesn't get talked about, is you're managing the city government of San Francisco. The next mayor's gonna inherit a $15.8 billion budget, over 35,000 city employees, and over 50 direct department head reports. Experience is gonna matter if you want someone to hit the ground running on day one. When I was mayor, I was at my desk at 8:15, we cranked all day long. Brought in department heads, brought in their underlying team, set vision and policies, brought out the whiteboards. We govern the city of San Francisco. And the problem is, on our current mayor, that type of leadership and management of our city government is completely vacant. So right now, we have all departments are allowed to contract with third parties, nonprofits or otherwise. My first week in office, we cut all of that off. We have one single department under the mayor's office, one contracting office. We set KPIs, we set performance metrics, because we let people know, if you don't perform, this is not an annuity for you. You need to deliver for the residents of San Francisco. It's that type of leadership that will start to make a big difference in all of our lives.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. All right, that wraps up our questions. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We're now going to move to closing remarks. Since we started with Aaron last, Ahsha, I believe that means we start with you. 1 minute.
Folks, as your mayor, I will never make excuses like our current mayor. I promise you bold leadership and accountability. Of all the candidates on this stage, I bring the most diverse set of experience to the job. I'm an immigrant, a city planner, I've run my own small business, I've been advocating for working and middle-class families my entire career. I will listen and I will be a strong voice for you. I worked for 2 mayors, Mayor Willie Brown and Gavin Newsom. I've been a deputy department head of Public Works, of community development, and I've worked for Public Works. I run my own small business, and I worked for organized labor for almost a decade. And I've been on the Board of Supervisors for the past 8 years. This is not an entry-level job, folks. You have to be ready for this job day one. I'm proud to have been endorsed by more labor unions than anyone on this stage because I have fought for working families and middle-class folks every single step of the day from day one. I will fight like hell to build a safe, affordable city that will be managed and run well, and we will fight for working people, 911 dispatchers, teachers, nurses, firefighters,
Ahsha, your time.
janitors, all San Franciscans. I hope you'll join me this November.
Thank you so much, Ahsha. Daniel, please.
I'll put my track record of experience, executive experience, up against anybody I'm running against. I started one of the largest, most innovative poverty fighting organizations in this country. I've gotten housing built on time and under budget. I brought a global sporting event here in Super Bowl 50 that brought $240 million of economic revenue to our great city. And we are going to do it again. We got the NBA All-Star Game coming in 2025. We got Super Bowl 60 coming back in 2026. We have 6 World Cup matches. I have dedicated my career and my life to this city. I want to dedicate the next 8 years to serving you, the people. You deserve a true public servant, someone that focuses on you, the taxpayers, and the residents every single day. You will have that commitment from me. I hope to have your vote this November. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
So everyone, to me, this election is going to come down to 2 simple questions. Are you happy with the leadership inside of City Hall right now? Or do you believe we need change? And if you believe, like I do, that we need change, who do you believe is best suited to lead our city forward? For me, I believe experience matters. I've been mayor before. I've sat in that seat. I know the powers and the limitations and the criticisms and where it's coming from. Having that experience is completely invaluable if you want someone who's going to hit the ground running on day one to start to make a difference in your lives. But competence matters and a track record of success. I grew our police department to record staffing levels. As mayor, I took out all the large tenant encampments. And when I left office, our economy was humming. We were proud to call ourselves elected officials in 2018. It's not that way today. And ultimately, a vision matters as well. My vision for a city is a city that is safe, with clean streets, a growing economy, vibrant neighborhoods, and a focus on families. And I look forward to turning that vision into reality as your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Aaron, wrap it up.
Thank you all for coming tonight and participating in democracy. I'm running for mayor because I love this city. I want it to be a place where working people can still afford to live and where neighborhoods have a real voice in City Hall. Over 17 years of public service, elected 3 times by my colleagues to be president of the board, I've shown again and again the absolute independence to stand up to wealthy special interests and do what is best for this city. My agenda is to build affordable housing, reduce rent costs, combat corruption, take on homelessness, and finally implement real community policing to make our neighborhoods safe. I am the only person on this stage with a track record of fighting against the powerful interests that are pushing this city in the wrong direction. As your mayor, I will fight for you. I will fight for your neighborhoods, and I will fight for a future that is affordable to all of us for the city that we love. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, let's thank all these candidates for being a part of tonight's forum. Thank you. Once again, I'm Joe Fitzgerald Rodriguez from the SF Standard. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. One quick PSA, don't forget to vote. And second, oh, not like you'd forget. And second, there are QR codes you can scan with information on the neighborhood groups that hosted us tonight. Please thank them for their volunteer work and their commitment to democracy. And you all have a wonderful night.